We're live. We're recording right now, Thursday night, April 10th. Chase, Rob Wright to BYU is official. Signed, sealed, delivered. Rob Wright is going to be playing for the BYU Cougars next season. This is insane. I mean, BYU is now we keep saying it, but like now seeing a guy like Rob Wright, you see AJ DeBanza coming in. BYU's right there with all the blue bloods. It's insane. Chase, initial thoughts. Rob Wright going to BYU.
Initial thoughts the same as yours, Carter. It is crazy what BYU is doing. We obviously already saw the AJ stuff and the momentum they were having recruiting in the high school, and we knew that this was going to carry over to transfer portal. But this is next level stuff. This is exactly who BYU wanted, who they needed, and one of the top guards in the portal. I mean, one of the best players in the portal right now. And it didn't take long. It was, hey, Rob Wright's in the portal. Immediately rumors to BYU. They'd be the perfect fit. He already likes it there, waiting for Yegor's decision. Yegor's decision happens. Then all of a sudden, it's become pretty much common knowledge. He's going there. And then, of course, official today. It's the tides turning in every way, shape, and form for BYU basketball and the program as a whole. I believe they're 6th in the recruiting rankings right now. It's obviously going to change a whole bunch, and we'll see whoever other teams get and who BYU even gets. But they're up there with the biggest names now, and it's showing in a lot of different ways, and recruiting's caught right up to it with this Rob Wright commit.
Yep, absolutely. Can't agree more. And also, on top of that as well, I think one of the coolest parts about this is two things. One, you talked about it for a minute, is that this is exactly who BYU wanted. The coaching staff, everybody in that building, their number one guy on that big board in the portal was Rob Wright. We're going after Rob Wright. This is exactly who they wanted. He fits exactly what Kevin Young and this coaching staff wants to do. It is the absolute perfect fit. There is not another guy in the portal I think I would have wanted more for BYU, or I wouldn't have wanted more for BYU than Rob Wright. He is perfect for everything they want to do. He can play fast. He can go one-on-one. He can be a bucket getter. He can drive to the paint. He can get other guys involved. He can pass. He's unselfish enough. And it's not going to be, he's not going to be a ball stopper to slow down this offense or anything. And the other thing on top of that, Chase, you know what's also going to be so awesome about this team on the court next season is that now BYU for a long time hasn't had one-on-one players that you can just give them the ball, go get a bucket. I guess Richie was kind of that guy for them last year. Well, guess what? Richie's probably the third best one-on-one guy next season with AJ and Rob right there. And they have 3 guys on any given night that can easily give you 20, 3 guys who could get you 20 all in the same night. They could all go bananas. So they can beat you from so many different ways. And I also think this is a great fit because, look, yeah, Rob Wright, he's a 6'1 guard. He's undersized a little bit. But BYU is going to have so much size and length and athleticism around him where you can't really attack him too much on defense because there's going to be so much help defense and they're going to be so big and long. And I think we end up seeing Richie play the 2 spot next year, and he's, 6'5", 6'6"? And so they're going to be so long and big, yet they have one of the most dynamic guards in the country. It's just unbelievable. This is the perfect fit. I could not be more excited for it. BYU fans listening, throw the blue goggles on. Think the craziest thoughts because all of them are attainable. Nothing is impossible. This team is designed, ready to go to play in April next season.
Let's play in April. Shout out Justin Young for that mantra that BYU's, you're right, Carter, going to be living by this season and by the looks of things, and if we're reading into trends, many seasons to come. The reason Rob Wright is so perfect for BYU, and if you were saying, looking at this team, and of course this team next year is going to be very different than this team last season, lots of different pieces, but the coaching staff, the philosophy is going to be the same. The one thing that was missing was that presence on the ball that can go get a bucket whenever you need it. Rob Wright, that's probably his strongest point, is his offensive output, his ability to create his own shots, make tough buckets from the mid-range, 3-point, and at the rim. All 3 levels, he's able to fill it up. And so if you're BYU now, you have a stable point guard who will not panic in big moments, who has proven he can score at all 3 levels and at any moment, even in the biggest moments. If you think back to that game he played in Provo, where him and VJ Edgecombe, and we've mentioned this multiple times, but they just hit every big basket in front of a sold out BYU crowd, which is no joke to play in that building, right? And BYU did come away with the win there at the end, but that is exactly what BYU was missing this season. And next season, they'll have a lot of offensive guys and a lot of options. Like you said, Richie being even maybe the third is crazy to think about. I think at the end of the day, he'll still be second. But Rob Wright brings that presence and that threat from all three levels that BYU just didn't quite have. It showed in some of their biggest games when Yegor was shooting well from three. And you just saw how, I mean, they were on a streak of scoring 90 points there against some of the tougher defenses in the Big 12. And then in the biggest stage of the NCAA tournament, and it's because of that threat on the ball. Rob Wright's going to bring that every single game. There will be no warm up, no build up. No, is this going to be an off night or an on night? The scoring is everything. On top of that, we don't want you all to think that he's just a scorer. He's averages 4.5 assists a game, just one less than Yegor, who was legitimately the best passer in college basketball. And he gets to the free throw line, shoots it at an 80% clip. It's just what you wanted a point guard, Carter. I mean, this guy was genetically engineered to play BYU basketball with this team at this given moment in time. I don't think like there's been a lot of you've never seen this before as a BYU fan in the past 2 years because of every guy coming in. This is just added to that cake. This is someone you've never seen before play the point guard position. Yegor was a unicorn in his own right. Rob Wright's a totally different player, but just as effective with who they have coming in. I mean, think your favorite BYU point guard of the last 100 years and multiply it by 5. That's what Rob Wright is. That's how good he is and what he's going to bring to this team.
Absolutely. Once again, I cannot agree more too. And on top of that, the way his game is played, like we've talked about, it fits their system perfectly. Talk to the coaching staff. This is exactly who they wanted. They believe it's the perfect fit, and it was the number one guy on their board they wanted to go get. But then on top of that as well, gosh, man, that's another thing is that BYU's never had this kind of thing before. They haven't had this dynamic guard since what, Jimmer? You could like this is just different. And then you have so many people who can beat you on every single possession. And going back to his time at Baylor, I think what's most impressive about what he did at Baylor, in my opinion, is I think that roster was so poorly constructed. I think that was a matter of, hey, we like this guy, let's just bring him in, and then we'll figure it out. I think that's what was happening at Baylor last year because the mix of Roach, Edgecombe, and Rob Wright just didn't mesh at all with the mix of like Omier and Celestine and all that kind of stuff. Like, it was just a herky-jerky, not well-built roster, and Scott Drew kind of had a disaster season last year, in my opinion, for how much they spent on that roster. And then on top of that, he looked really good in that system when he was having to come off the bench. He was having to play weird minutes. There was no real system. Things were kind of going down the toilet for Baylor, a lot of points last season, and he was continuously very, very consistent and good for Baylor last season. Him and VJ Edgecombe, especially with him being in and out of the lineup and everything. Now he's going to be able to run the show mostly. And then we talked about this last episode, Chase, where it's so important in college, especially to have that point guard that gets the other guys involved. And Rob Wright is going to do that. He's going to get AJ his shots. He's going to get Richie his shots. He's going to get everybody else on this team involved as well. But he can also do it himself. And once we get to March, your guards are going to have to do it themselves. And that's something BYU's not going to have to worry about because they got their guy.
Absolutely. If you just think about the way this offense is run, right? Look at BYU when they're at their best. We've said it all year round. You could name the podcast this. They get to the basket, and then they find shooters from there when it's open, and then that's when they knock down shots. That's when they have this insane three-point shooting barrage. It's not like BYU's not an off-the-dribble, I was just going to nail three-pointers. That's not their game. That's at least this last season. They're going to have some guys that can do that. But I think we're talking about Rob Wright. He's going to make such an impact offensively, but you also shouldn't expect just now a bunch of one-on-ones with ISO ball Rob Wright, then let's try AJ. Like, that's still not going to happen. It's still going to be the same fluid moment, getting out in transition, right? Getting to the basket, kicking the ball, swinging it around. You're just adding that extra level of threat. And in moments where you do get mucked down, because it happens to every college basketball team, and it was one of the problems of BYU's season, right, is when that was their offense was their worst, is when it got stagnant late shot clock. You have a guy that can blow past pretty much anyone, finish at the rim, or find the right guy to hit a shot. Oh, also, he shoots an amazing clip from mid-range and 3.2, so he can actually shoot off the dribble and do that.
And he's not super erratic with the ball and doesn't turn the ball over like crazy as well. He's a great decision maker. And Chase, I think that's something interesting you mentioned with, making sure it's a fluid offense and everything, because that's what honestly I'm most curious to see next season is how this offense gels with new pieces coming in, obviously, and how does a guy like AJ DeBansa fall in line with this Kevin Young style offense where it is supposed to be very unselfish, very fluid, and everybody gets their turn, but it's a lot of off-ball movement and everything like that, up tempo. I'm curious to see how he fits in that offense. I think he'll do well. I think he buys in, but I am a little bit worried that I just want to make sure he doesn't come in and become a ball stopper and slow things down and make it stagnant. But I think he can be that guy where, hey, there's 7 seconds left on the shot clock. Our 2 plays just got busted. Give it to him. He can make you that miracle bucket, one-on-one contested mid-range shot. Rob Wright can do that as well. I just don't want it to turn into, honestly, kind of what we saw in Kevin Young's last year with the Phoenix Suns, where it was take your turn basketball.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because what Kevin Young has this next season is legitimate NBA guys who do have that skill set in them. And we did see that a little bit at the beginning of the season, Carter, when they were struggling, right? When we're wondering who this team is, what on earth they're doing. It was because the offense looked like that. They obviously figured it out. My guess is the coaching staff, the players, everyone who watched BYU learned their lesson and came to expect a certain type of offense. But you do have dynamic guys, and that's where I think what was really good about this Rob Wright edition and everything that they've done in the offseason and recruiting this offseason as well is there's an incredible mix of experience and young bona fide talent coming in to be this starting 5, which I don't know, I wouldn't safely say is solidified yet, but there's 4 that are in Rob Wright, AJ DeBonsta, Richie Saunders, and Keba Keita. You have guys like Richie and Keba who have played college basketball for 4+ years, right? And know what it's like to win big games in physical conferences. You have AJ, the new young guy, right? Going to be 18 years old, obviously highly touted, has a future in the league. And Rob Wright, who's kind of the perfect mix of that kid's still super young. That he's was just a freshman. He's going to be a true sophomore, but has also played Big 12 minutes an entire season. He understands the physicality. He played at Matt Verde Academy. He knows how to play with stars, right? Being Cooper Flagg's point guard for your senior high school season has to have come with its lessons, right, and experience. And so the starting 5 BYU is going to roll out is going to be one of the most well-rounded, star-studded, and honestly best in the entire country.
Absolutely. I going back to what I was saying before, though, talking about the ball stopping and how this team gels once the season starts and everything. The reason I do get a little concerned about that is especially when you bring in young guys and NBA talent and one-and-done guys is that it's a little bit different because last year Yegor is such an unselfish dude, but I've seen this with previous Kentucky teams and previous Duke teams that are heavy one-and-done and a lot of top talent. BYU has a great blend and mix. That's why I'm not too worried about it, to be honest, and I think Kevin Young and this coaching staff is going to drill it into this team in their second offseason and go, hey, this is how we're going to play. This is our style. This is what you got to buy into. But the reason I get worried about that stagnant iso ball offense a little bit is that these dudes are so talented, Chase, that early on in the season especially, you can fall into those habits a little bit where you can get away with going one-on-one basketball and still winning and playing stagnant because, oh, you know what, just give me the ball, I'll go do my thing, I'll get in my bag a little bit kind of thing. And I've seen that with Duke over the years. I've seen that with Kentucky over the years. And I just want to make sure that's honestly maybe my only concern about this BYU team outside of potential health concerns going into the season.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And it is going to be easy at the beginning of the season when you're playing Sasquatch State in Kelvin Sampson's words, right?
Well, it does help they are having a much better non-con. I mean, starting with Nova, yeah. I think in Orlando they're playing Georgetown, Miami, some mix of that, and then they're obviously playing in the Jimmy V Classic and MSG, and there's still some games to be announced as well. So they're playing a much tougher non-con, which I think helps a ton because I think BYU got a little comfortable in the non-con, and I think the coaching staff would even tell you the same thing, where they just weren't challenged.
Yeah, they got used to what you're saying. Like, oh, I just know every single guy is I'm better than, and I could beat one on one, and they just got used to that, right? So yeah, this season will be a lot better. It might be some growing pains, right? Because you have to play such great competition so early on. And another underrated aspect, and what could lead to that iso ball you're talking about, the one concern we have is because these guys aren't going to know each other very well. We talk about the starting five; they're probably only returning two guys who are going to be starting, maybe three, right? But you're adding dudes from different walks of life who've been coached by different guys, different styles, different leagues, different opponents, and it's going to take a whole offseason and probably months into the season for everyone to really feel comfortable getting into what each other's styles are and knowing where they're going to be on the court, right? And I mentioned this last episode. Richie Saunders probably has played with like 35, 50 teammates in his career at BYU, and now he's got to get used to playing with a completely different crew if he returns. I know that's not officially announced yet or anything, nor do I have any inside information, but just assuming that he does, right? So if BYU is not comfortable doing that, and these players like AJ or Rob Wright aren't super comfortable passing the ball to certain guys on the team, then maybe it is like, well, I'm just gonna take shots myself. I'm just gonna do what I know or what I used to do. 9 months ago on this team, they really liked it. It used to work for me. Let's try it out here. But I don't foresee that being a problem because I think guys are really bought in. I think that's why they like Kevin Young and this coaching staff. That's why they come to BYU. And I also think Kevin Young and the coaching staff learned their lesson this season. They'll be the first to tell you it was growing pains. It did take some time to get used to the college game and playing at this level, and also getting guys to buy into this certain system. And we could see it on the court as well. I'm not saying it'll click immediately off the bat, but I think it'll be a much quicker process this next season, despite the many different guys coming in.
And I think it also helps with guys like AJ. He's coming in for spring semester. He's coming in at the end of this month already. And so there's going to be more time to gel and be around the team and everything. I also think, Chase, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I understand Kevin Young has a great pedigree at the NBA. All these NBA dudes love him and can't say enough great things about him. But the other thing is, I think he also earned a lot of respect and got his credentials a little bit by making the Sweet 16 and making the second weekend this year, because he can say, hey, we figured out this is what works this season. And you know what? If we have you guys this season, we can go double that. We can go to the Final Four. We can go play for a national title this year. And so I think making that Sweet 16 run is another thing where he's almost demanded the respect a little bit, where it's like, hey, I'm not this, phony coach where I'm, just, going off of guys like KD and CP3's words. He's like, I've shown I can do it. I can be this guy. And the fact that they were able to adapt, like you were saying, and fix it mid-season and completely do a 180 on the season and be able to salvage that, and with all the dudes they had and even running a 10, 11-man rotation at that point too, it was just super impressive. And I think it makes BYU fans all that more excited for next season.
It does. It makes me excited for next season. I think it makes recruits excited for next season. I think that was a big part of the pedigree he's earned is that success on the court and off the court, man. I mean, BYU's they have a lot going for them. We talked about this when AJ first committed, but that was big for so many reasons. Obviously, getting into the NBA, the things he's going to do on the court, but also, I mean, how much do you think AJ DeBensta played a part in getting Rob Wright to BYU?
I don't think it was a small part, but I don't think it was the only part, because we can get into this discussion right now where people are throwing out fake NIL numbers left and right, where I think it was the Baylor guy. I don't know what his exact name is, so I apologize, but he was thrown out there $3.5 million. I know for a fact that's not the actual number. People are saying AJ's getting $7 to $8 million from BYU. I know for a fact that's not the number at all. And so they're throwing out these crazy NIL numbers and everything. And look, but the money isn't everything in this part, and everyone's going to point to it. Everyone's going to say, oh, they only got them because of the money. Yeah, that's a decent part of it, but that's how anybody gets anybody these days. It's very, 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 very rare someone's going to take less money to go to a school. They're obviously going to follow the money for the most part, but at the same time, you got to have, like what Mika talked about, you got to still have the same things: a great coaching staff, great support staff, the facilities, and everything around it. And it bugs me when people say, oh, BYU only got this guy because of the money, because of the money. It's like, no, that wouldn't be the case, because, look, even though you're getting a ton of money or whatever, BYU, it's not an easy sell for a lot of these non-LDS guys.
Yeah, I mean, if it was about money, I think other schools could have offered AJ Rudabonsta, honestly, or Rob Wright the same numbers.
We know this for a fact. Alabama and UNC matched the BYU offer, and AJ still chose BYU.
And same with whatever Rob Wright was getting. I believe the big man Jeff Goodman said it was $3 million. He was told, and he put it in his official report. Whatever the number was, other schools would have offered that. I think probably did. Like I just think it's ridiculous for people to be like, BYU is the only one throwing around these numbers. A lot of schools would throw around numbers for really talented guys. They already are.
And I've heard a number less than that, to be honest. I've heard it's about between 2 to 2.5, but who knows these days? None of these numbers are freaking real, it seems like. I feel like nobody's getting the actual numbers. Very few of these I feel like we know for a stone cold fact what we're actually getting.
Yeah, exactly, and I don't think we ever will, and that's fine. You can keep that private. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And if you're only coming for the money, then you're not going to be a good basketball team, and you're not going to mesh well. And I don't think BYU, particularly Kevin Young and the coaching staff, is just getting guys with money because they're the most talented or they're the highest rated or whatever it is. If they did that, this team wouldn't be very good. And I think they're smarter to do that. And Rob Wright was perfect for BYU, and they offered a certain amount of money. But I'm telling everyone listening right now, other schools would have offered that. I'm sure they actually did, because he's an amazing player. So at the end of the day, what Eric Mika said, he said it best, and he's working in the NIL space right now, so he knows a lot about this. He said, at the end of the day, recruiting's kind of come back to what it was 20 years ago, where the money is always going to be there at every school now. All these Power 5 schools are going to have money. They're going to throw you these bags because you're worth it, and that's your value, and you're that good. So now what else do you like about the school? What else makes you want to play for BYU in this situation, or any school you want to go to at the end of the day? Because look, you can get it here. You could get it at Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, all these blue bloods. Guess what? They have the money to do it.
Virginia.
Virginia gives Dallin Hall $1.1 million, right? Which is obviously awesome for him. We're super excited for him. That's because he was worth that much. And then I think he decided, I also like the fit of this. I like the style they want me to play in. I like the minutes they're promising me. I like the coaching staff. Like, those things come into effect. If it was just about money, then you're not going to be a good basketball team.
No. And we saw that. Look at Miami. Miami's been a disaster program the last 2 years because it's all been about money. You can even look at Arkansas, and I know they were at one shot away from making the Elite Eight this year, but look at the first 80% of the season. It was not pretty with the Arkansas Razorbacks and John Calipari. They struggled.
Texas, Kansas State, these teams, they threw so much money around, and look at their seasons.
It all comes down to coaching in this sport still.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Now, we're not going to sit here and be like, oh, he just loves BYU. Like, BYU's got a big, fat, deep vault. They have very rich alumni who are very passionate, and that puts them ahead of a lot of people in a lot of ways, but it doesn't put them above and beyond everyone. It doesn't give them an unfair advantage. It just is caught them up with the big dogs, and now they're taking on the big dogs and winning some of those battles.
Yeah, and we can be honest here, Chase. Like, yeah, Rob Wright isn't sitting there going, I'm trying to go to BYU. No, he's going to get the money, but on top of that, he also wants to play for Kevin Young and play with AJ DeBanza, because also on top of that, look at this situation. Let's say you're going back to Baylor or you're coming to BYU. Well, where are you going to get noticed more by the NBA? to be honest, it's going to be BYU next season because there's going to be 50, 60 draft scouts at every single game next season, and your games are going to be on national TV every single night. BYU's rarely going to be on ESPN Plus next season. At least we all hope so, for the sake of having to log into ESPN Plus every single time we watch these daggum games, but that's a different point. But I just think if you want to go to the NBA, I think this is the perfect spot too. And look, Scott Drew's system last year, I know he would have played a bigger role this year with Baylor, but I mean, it was kind of a disaster last season. And you come into Kevin Young, you get to come Kevin Young's system, you get to run the show and everything. It's just the perfect fit. It's going to be so awesome. And I also think a big thing with these guys is why they like Kevin Young so much is, yeah, he's got the connections to the guys in the NBA. That obviously gets his foot in the door. But once he's around these dudes, this is why Justin Young keeps tweeting out and saying, come see it, just come see it. It's because these dudes are just normal coaches, and they're not these aggressive fake salesmen that I feel like a lot of these coaches are. And if you just meet these guys, even if you meet them in public or whatever, you can tell immediately how genuine and how real everybody on this coaching staff is, and how they're all business. It's all ball in that building, and there's no funny stuff, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what makes BYU special. It's what's making them have success right now, on and off the court. In every single way, they are winning, and it's because of the coaching staff, because of the program as a whole, right? Bouncing back from losing a very, very good head coach in Mark Pope, made the right hire. Kevin Young brought in the right hires, right? All the right people around him, and it's paying off. And to your point, and that was the point of my initial question, right? Is how much did AJ have an impact? Obviously, it wasn't everything, but it was something. And from what we heard initially when the Rob Wright news came out that he was even in the portal, was that AJ was in his ear talking to him like, hey, you should come play here. Think about what we can do, right? And what point guard would not want to come play for BYU at this point in time? You get to play in front of a sellout crowd every night at your own place in the Big 12, a team that just went to the Sweet 16 with the number one recruit coming in. Every game is going to be tons of eyeballs, like you said. This is kind of a point guard's dream. Look at the season Yegor had. Look at the amount of points you get to score. Like, I don't know who doesn't want to, stylistically, with everything combined, want to play for a team like that. And obviously, it's not everyone's fit, whatever. But it's becoming a desirable destination for a reason. And everything has a lot to do with that. But mostly, in my opinion, is, like you said, that coaching staff, how genuine they are, and the moves they're making, and the basketball minds that they have.
And guess what, man? Next season, look, we thought the Marriott Center was great this season, going to games like the Baylor game last year when Conor McGregor was there, the Utah game, Kansas, and all that. I mean, think about next season. We potentially get Darren Peterson versus AJ DeBansa, 1 versus 2 in the Marriott Center, a rematch after BYU smoked Kansas in there last season. That building is going to be freaking bananas next season. Like, the atmosphere in Provo is going to be unfreaking real. I'm so excited for it. Chase, let's get to some other news real quick. Dallin Hall goes to Virginia. We alluded to it just a little bit before. Shout out Dallin Hall. I actually think it's a great fit in Ryan Odom's system. I think it's exactly what Ryan Odom wants. And Virginia came in and swooped in at the last second and said, you know what? We'll give you the money you want. Come play for our program. You're exactly who we want with us. And I think he's going to do well at Virginia, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. When the news came out, right, and we heard about it, I was like, that actually seems like a really good fit for him over there. He gets to play some ACC ball in a league that I wouldn't say is wide open at the top, but the top top 4 is pretty wide open. Getting into that there's a lot of new coaches coming in. Obviously, you get a new system. You know more about the ACC than I do, but it's a rejuvenated Cavalier team, and obviously with the seasons that they've been having, they're pretty disappointed in it. So it'll be exciting to see him hopefully be a really big part of that, and I'd love to see him on my TV in some big games in the ACC.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, I think, and also it's not going to be the past Virginia of Tony Bennett, sit back, park the bus, and basically play the most boring brand of basketball of all time. It's going to be a little more exciting than that. Also, Ryan Odom does a great job wherever he goes, and that's who you want to hitch your wagon to is Ryan Odom. He's great. And also the ACC, I think the ACC is actually going to be sneaky really good next year with these new coaching hires. I know I'm an ACC guy a little bit, but like But I think Will Wade to NC State was the best coaching hire of this offseason, no question about it. I think they're going to be good immediately. You're going to see, a Pat Kelsey like revival at NC State, and I think Ryan Odom's going to turn it around immediately at Virginia as well.
Do we start investigating Ryan Odom for tampering in the first round of the NCAA tournament? What was he saying to Dallin Hall in the handshake line? What's that about?
I do love all the Baylor fans saying, "Oh, well, BYU is tampering or whatever," and obviously, I don't know. We don't honestly. I just don't care at this point because one, I think everybody in college sports is tampering, and on top of that, Baylor. So how'd you get Jeremy Roach last season? How'd you get Norchad Omier? It was all legit. Yeah, okay, nah, that's fine. Anyhow, but it wasn't tampering then. You guys weren't talking to Jeremy Roach in late February saying, "Hey, we're going to give you, over $1 million to come to Baylor." Oh, okay, just making sure.
Yeah. Everyone loves the transfer in. Everyone hates the transfer out when it happens to them. But it does happen to everyone eventually. This is the new college hoops.
That's like saying guys weren't getting paid until NIL got legal.
Yeah, which is not true.
It's silly.
Guys were getting stuff well before, and now it's out in the open, and so now dudes can actively chase it. Man, it's changed a lot, hasn't it? It is.
Yeah, it's crazy. I do feel bad for some of these big time athletes that weren't like quite good enough for the NBA, and they weren't able to make a fat bag in college. But shout out these dudes because they're making good money. Keeping going here. Bosco back at BYU. He's returning. He's running it back for next season. I love that move. I love having him back. Guy that's been in the system. He understands it. I think he's okay coming off the bench, but I think he can come in and play a big role at key times.
I absolutely agree. And I think even for him, a big pitch was like, look, you're going to have all these eyes on you. Like, this is a great opportunity for you to maybe get some more minutes and show what you can do. And BYU returns two of their centers and then brings in a really good third one who has potential to take up a lot of minutes or develop. We'll see what Xavion does when he comes to Provo. But they got that position locked down. Having Boscovich there is, I think, huge for a lot of reasons. I think he could be a good locker room guy. It's good to have some continuity in the college basketball landscape, and BYU is going to have a decent amount of it here. He also is a guy who's bringing, obviously, experience, being a part of that team, being part of the transformation, playing in the Big 12. And then being able to stretch the floor. We saw some games where he was absolutely vital in BYU's success and getting wins in some of the biggest moments. When I think of that West Virginia game, right? We obviously talk about that game winner he hit. He also was big for the other 40 minutes. And it's because that was the pivotal game where we're like, BYU has to win this. Otherwise, they might not even make the tournament. And obviously seeing what they did later on in the season might make that seem silly. But at the moment, that's what everyone was thinking. And he was there. He stretched the floor, made some big shots, and brings a different dynamic to the center position that Kevin Young loved to roll out in certain matchups, and it worked a lot of the time.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have him back. I think he's going to be a great locker room guy, like you said. Having that continuity is going to be great as well. Chase, last thing before we go, transfer portal needs for BYU. They obviously get their star point guard. I think they've for sure solidified 4 out of 5 on the starting 5. I think Dominic Diamande is the question mark there, whether he slots into that starting lineup. To be honest, I think BYU has to go get a backup point guard. They have to. And then I think they need to go get another 3-and-D guy or, go get that guaranteed 5th starter. And then I think BYU's good to go from there.
Yeah, you nailed it right on the head. I think those are the two you're looking for. If it happens, we're and it's going to happen. Who it is, right, is obviously up in the air. The BYU's in business, man. I mean, it's a pretty good feeling when you know who your top guys are going to be in mid-April, and you're getting pretty excited about what it's going to look like. And then you also everything else from here on out, who they get in the transfer portal, is just going to be like a cherry on top, and we're just going to be obviously very excited for whoever it is, and we'll be doing pods and breaking them down. And so we're excited for that. But even at this point in time, and it's crazy the difference, right? It was around this time a year ago, 365 days ago, we believed that BYU basketball's sky was falling and that it was going to be another however many years of complete irrelevance, and everything was just going to crap with Mark Pope's departure, right? And then downhaul, Richie Saunders entered the portal, and it's like, what's going on here? This is the worst thing that could have possibly happened. to this is the best thing that could have ever happened to BYU. To think about where we're at
Yep.
now is crazy. It's crazy. I don't think we talk about it a lot, but it's still not enough. It's bonkers.
It is bonkers. It is absolutely bonkers. Going back to the transfer portal, I think if they get a third guy, it would end up being like a third string emergency big who ends up probably redshirting, in my opinion, and that would probably be about it. But I do think BYU needs to get a little bit more shooting, and they need to get one more ball handler in the backcourt. And I think this roster's set, and it's ready to compete for a national title.
I 100% agree. 100% agree, and I'm pretty sure Kim Young, Coach Steph, going to find the right guys.
And I'm curious too because I don't know if their transfer portal targets have even hit the portal yet, in my opinion. I still think there's some guys that are in it right now that haven't decided. We'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised if, we see a guy hit the portal and then BYU's heavily involved, and we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, there's still, it's still open for a little bit here in the offseason. It's a long offseason. You can't rule out the possibility, Carter. They landed Yegor Demin, a little late in the process. Mihailo Boskovic was even later in the process. You can never close the international pipeline for BYU. So we'll keep our eye on that. I can't say if I know anyone specifically that they're exactly looking at, but I know that they 100% are looking, and the international route to college is only becoming more and more popular, and BYU is right in the mix of that.
I do want it out there that, just warning, once again, just be aware, when a guy enters the portal and says BYU's on there, doesn't necessarily mean BYU's contacted them or even BYU wants them. The agent might just be putting that name on there to drive up the price. I just want that out there. Last couple things, and then we'll get out of here. We got to address the comments, Chase. What's going on
right
above
now?
your head? I'm fine. I'll address them. We got the YouTube comments. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. I'm not able to access it right now. Chase, if you're watching on YouTube or X right now, not a fan of your lights.
So what does he want me to do? Is it this part right here that he doesn't like, that it goes all the way to the corner? And that, look, these are bulb. These are bulb.
I'll read the comment for everyone.
Yeah, I appreciate the thought that goes into it, but these are bulb lights. There's not like an LED strip that I can get real tight on it. So I'm just like kind of stringing them along. And honestly, it was just to like light the room and give me a better backdrop. I understand it's ugly. It was a little DIY, but if it makes you feel better, I'm moving soon, and so this might be completely different. You're not going to see this room ever again. So I'll keep that in mind the next when I make my setup at my new place.
You got to get a fat head behind you.
Of who? Who should I get?
The Rock. That'd be hilarious.
The Rock?
I don't know. I was trying to think of the most random person I could think of off the top of my head.
Do they even make fat heads anymore? That's still in business?
Oh, they have to. I think
I'm
you can
looking
get
it
them
up right
custom
now.
made.
Read the comments, and I'll look up some fat heads.
Okay, you look up fat heads. So it was Richard Kozlowski on YouTube. He said, "My OCD is driving me nuts. Can someone please fix the light strain behind Chase so that it runs along the corner of the ceiling and wall? It would look so much better if you did that. I love listening to you guys, but those lights are driving me nuts."
Hey, Richard.
I love these comments.
I love them too. I'm glad you like us, dude. I really appreciate it. Any relation to Brody? Any relation to Brody, Richard?
That was the other comments we have to address.
Oh, what's that? Let's hear it.
People were mad we weren't talking about Brody for this roster next season. And look, I think he can be great. I think he could be a solid Division I basketball player. I just don't know if he necessarily fits into this roster or will get much playing time with how much talent's coming in. I think it's a tough path for him, to be honest, but I think it's still attainable, and I think he still could come back, but I just don't know how much time he's going to get if he comes back.
Yeah, from what I hear, he's leaning towards it. Again, don't quote me on that. I think Brody has the potential. We'll see. Obviously, he's got a lot of work to do in the offseason. He has potential to be that shooter that BYU is missing. We saw in some minutes that he does play, he is a formidable shooter. Mostly, obviously, it wasn't a whole lot of opportunities. He kind of was in the corner and was able to get those shots up. BYU needs shooting. They need a guy to be a knockdown threat from that range, and I think he legitimately has the skills, the tool set, the form, everything to be that guy for BYU. So, listen, I'll talk about Brody all day long. I remember, and I've said this to you off camera, Carter, I remember I was covering American Fork a couple years ago, I watched Brody Kozlowski drop 45 points in a semifinal state playoff game. And I was like, this kid's insane. I can't believe BYU missed out on him when he was committed to USC at the time. Obviously, they changed their coaching staff because of BYU, and I still see the potential in there. So he has the opportunity this season. Again, they're bringing in a lot of guys. They're going to be super talented. It's going to be up to him and a lot of hard work on his part. They need some shooting, man. He has the potential to be that guy.
I love it. I love it. I agree. Chase, going back to the fathead comment,
I'm looking.
Is there? Oh yeah, real quick, but this is the more important question before we even get into the research, because the research might be canceled after this comment or question. Is there any world your wife lets you put up a fat head in your house?
Oh no. I mean, I'll ask her. I'm looking at a Larry Bird fat head right here for $70. Is that the move, Carter?
That's the move for you.
Larry in the background. Come on.
So do I need like Gerald Wallace for the Bobcats?
You go out and get a Muggsy Bogues one. Little Hornets action.
I love it. Anything else? I can't believe we went 40 minutes on this thing.
I can't believe it either. And now I'm just looking at Larry Bird fatheads. I think I might have to pull the trigger on this one.
Oh, don't get down the rabbit hole. I was on eBay the other day and I had to stop because I was like, look, this credit card statement's going to be crazy if I stay on eBay.
I mean, that it is dangerous. It is dangerous. But hey,
I'm looking at like 1980s ACC tournament memorabilia. I'm like, this looks awesome.
Oh man, I mean, we've collected some cool stuff over the years, Carter. But it's just the beginning. I mean, I'm a sucker for some sports memorabilia. I'm a sucker for it.
Yeah, if you have stuff you want to send us, hit our DMs. We are happy to take free stuff. By the way,
yeah, we wouldn't be mad. Believe it or not, we would not be.
Someone's gonna set. If you have a How Dong signed basketball, please hit us up, please.
I mean, assuming you haven't sold it for hundreds of thousands of dollars right now. Hey, Carter.
How Dong, if you're listening, sign a basketball and send it to us.
Shout out How Dong. Speaking of the NBA, Carter, playoffs coming up, and we're making some moves on a different channel.
Yes. Go to the CarterCast YouTube channel, podcast. It's all podcasts wherever you're listening, Twitter, everything. Chase and I and our buddy Connor, we're doing NBA. Episode's out. This is going to be out late Thursday, so it'll be out whenever you're listening to this. That'll be out. Go check out. We did a fun little NBA semi-playoff preview thing talking about Mike Malone getting fired and talked about some Western Conference scenarios and everything. We're going to do a huge playoff breakdown on Sunday as well, so go tune into that. We're going to do some live reactions during the NBA playoffs on that channel as well, so at CarterCast on everything, and very, very excited for the NBA playoffs, Chase.
Oh, I can't wait. If there's anything that drowns my sorrows at the end of March Madness, it's in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day. It just sucks. I don't even know what it's like to root in the NBA playoffs. Like, I grew up a Steve Nash fan. Like, I love Steve Nash. He was my favorite player of all time. But like that was when I was like 10 when it was over. I guess 11. So I haven't but the Bobcats and the Hornets, I've never been able to root for outside of one 2016 first round series.
I'm telling you, Carter, you can change that in the blink of an eye. I have this thing. I don't know if you've heard of it, where I think you're allowed to switch your team one time as long as you stick with the new one for the rest of your life. So
we debunked that.
I'm
theory.
offering it to you.
We debunked it.
What did we debunked it? I think it's very much alive. I'll sign the papers. I'll sign the papers right now to switch over your fandom. I can be that guy for you, like I am for other people. I can be that guy.
We 1000% debunked it because that BYU making the Sweet 16, that was one of the sweetest victories you've ever had as a fan. And it's because you went through so many years of heartbreak and bad basketball, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, like that 1 second round win was almost to equal as a Celtics title?
It was up there, but I would say this: the BYU basketball was never on the level of the Charlotte Hornets. Like you had some awesome years at BYU basketball, and we grew up with Jimmer. Like, so I've had good times to look back on. You, as a Charlotte Hornets fan, and it breaks my heart. That's why I'm offering this to you. I'm trying to do you a favor. Have had
But
absolutely nothing your entire life. You have not enjoyed a single NBA playoff.
when it does happen, it's gonna be it's like what they say. Like when Steven Gerrard. It's for all my soccer people out there. He's like, look, winning one title with Liverpool is better than winning 7 anywhere else. You win with your team. I would rather win one Hornets title I'd rather win one Hornets title than 10 with another team like the Lakers. I don't care. It's my team.
What if I told you? What if I could see the future? And hypothetically was like, I've seen the future, Carter. You will not live to see a Hornets title ever. Then would you switch?
The way I've been eating during March Madness, that's probably happening in the next few years. So if the Hornets don't get Cooper Flag immediately, yeah, that's probably likely. But, I mean, no, I would still go for it. I would still root for him. Like, I don't understand. Like, what? You don't switch teams. You got to be loyal.
You do. I'm all for loyalty. I'm just saying, that's why you only get one. It's only one. You got to sign the papers, and we keep it on file. We make sure you can't switch again. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I mean, look, I'm looking at a Fatheads Mother's Day sale right now. You can get 15% off a custom creation with code MOM, M-O-M. Not a sponsor, but
no free ads.
That just popped up here. If your mom wants a Fathead for Mother's Day, they're running a sale. Anyway,
Yeah,
Carter,
I mean,
I'm excited for the NBA playoffs. I know you aren't because your team's not in it.
I'm excited. I'm very excited. Look, the second the Hornets are eliminated, I'm all in on Steph Curry going to get a 5th ring. I love Steph Curry. He's the most entertaining player I've ever watched in the sport of basketball. I think I'm going to go all in on the Warriors bandwagon this playoffs, and I always do.
Okay, well, that's kind of lame. You picked the Warriors.
They're
of all
so
the bandwagons.
fun. They're so fun to watch, and Steph Curry's so fun to watch. And imagine, I also feel like Steve Kerr doesn't get enough credit for how good of a coach he is.
Really?
Yes.
Does Steve Kerr have a single title if Steph Curry's never born?
That's like saying if Phil Jackson doesn't have a title if MJ or Kobe aren't born.
I mean, that's 2, though. I mean, he did it different places. And
yeah, but he had
them.
Shaq and Kobe and Michael Jordan.
Yeah, but he did it over the years.
Steve Kerr was given a 6'2", 6'3" guard.
The best shooter of all time. A top 10 player of all time.
Phil Jackson was given the best player of all time.
Yeah, but then he went and did it at a different place. Granted,
who might be the best player of all time?
Lakers.
Rob Wright.
We're bringing it back around, all back together because
there we go. If you like some of that NBA talk right there, a lot more of it coming to you on the CarterCast YouTube channel. So go check that out. Go subscribe to that. We'll be back next week. We'll do some more transfer portal stuff. There's going to be news coming next week, I assume, and we'll talk about that next week. And maybe we'll do like a little mailbag pod. Maybe we'll have people submit questions about just random stuff and just do a big mailbag pod about roster stuff and see if we can maybe get some interviews here soon. So make sure to follow at Chase_Rogers0, at Carter BA, and at Churchball Pod on everything. Go subscribe, 5-star review.